which teams, according to the numbers, are poised to potentially have a little fall, have a little step back in the year of our Lord 2023. Alabama's right at the top of the list. Now, I know down in Tuscumbia, there are some people yelling at me right now saying, we fell last year. This is the year we're supposed to jump. Well, you didn't fall. You went 10-2 in the regular season, and then you body bagged Kansas State in the bowl game to finish with 11 wins. That's a fall back from the Bama standard, but in classical terminology, that's not falling. Now, here could be the potential issue. You are one of a few teams out there that's in the 120s in overall returning production, not returning starters, returning production. The Bill Connolly ESPN.com metric is what we choose to go off of. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a new defensive coordinator. You'll be breaking in a new quarterback. And you are losing one of your best overall offensive players at running back in Jahmyr Gibbs. You don't have to tell me about how you've recruited. I can list those players' names off just as well as you can. You don't have to do that for me. I will just say, I have seen Bama be in the 100s in returning production before and go compete for a title. They do it virtually every year. So I'm not clinging to this number as much as it sounds like I am. And I'm not even buying into Bama making a fall. We don't do predictions record-wise on the show until August. I think they're in the category of a team that would have a little red dot next to their name. If you're looking at what has mattered in the past when it comes to signifying which teams are going to fall. Another one to look at, and this will be no surprise whatsoever, is TCU. I don't even think I have to tell you the numbers, but I will. They are 118th overall in returning production. Now, keep in mind, all we're looking for is you to do worse this year than you did the year before. And TCU made the playoffs. So, nothing short of, they made the championship game, so they would have to win the national title to improve. So, yes, of course they're going to fall off. And even if they were to bring back the same team, they would fall off. But when you lose Max Duggan at quarterback, Quentin Johnson is gone. Garrett Riley, your offensive coordinator, is off to Clemson, one of the key stories of this cycle. You've got so many close games on the record last year that, again, even if you brought the same team back, could go either way. It's not realistic to look at them and say, oh, they'll be right back there this year. No, they won't. Or if they are, you will have seen one of the bigger miracles in the modern era of college football take place. Some would argue you already saw it last year. So college football playoff appearance, that's tough. The Big 12 is tough. And I always get pushback when I say that. I don't care. It's a tough league. You don't have to be winning back-to-back-to-back national championships for me to think your league is tough. You know what else the numbers say? The numbers say that South Carolina qualifies as a team that should fall off this year. What do we think about this? You know how sturdy the numbers market has been with South Carolina, and by that, I mean they haven't nailed them yet. So if I were a Gamecock fan up there in Gaffney, South Carolina, this would be no skin off my back. Predict us to do whatever you want to. We're 102nd in returning production? Okay. You're going to put the over-under at 7.5? Okay. So they've hit the over both years under Shane Beamer. Their schedule is ridiculous, as it always is. Don't get me started on this unequal scheduling tangent, but South Carolina this year, they open against North Carolina in Charlotte. I believe that's where it's a neutral site game. They go to Georgia. They go to Tennessee. They go to Missouri. They've got Clemson at the end of the year. They go to Texas A&M. It's a pretty brutal schedule. I don't recommend scheduling Jacksonville State as one of your out-of-conference games. I personally don't recommend that. You do what you want to do up there. And they got Furman in week 2. So the Paladins come in. But other than that, tough schedule. They won 8 games this past year and won 7 the year before. Now we're talking about teams that are poised, at least numerically, to take a step back. If you win 7 games against this schedule at South Carolina, I think you've had a pretty good year. So Shane Beamer could actually fall short of last year's win total and still have had a pretty good campaign. But then again, I said that the year before, and he overachieved anyway. I'm looking at what history says about your returning production and what they have to face this year. That's all I'm saying. The last one I want to touch on is Utah, back-to-back Pac-12 champions. And if you look at the returning production metrics, Utah's 16th. So you might ask yourself, self? There's a little Conrad Thompson there, self? Why would I doubt Utah? Well, it's all about placement. They're not coming off a 7-win season. They are back-to-back conference champs out there. And when I am thinking about Utah and whether they could take a little step back, I'm not thinking about returning production as much as I'm thinking about what the rest of the Pac-12 is doing. This is going to be a loaded conference at quarterback this year. It's going to be a very, very high-level offensive conference this year. And frankly, I don't like some of the pieces Utah lost defensively. And this is not Georgia. This is not where there are just a bunch of creatures there on the defensive depth chart that you've never heard the names of, but they're ready to play at an astronomically high level. It's a developmental sport, but Utah, even within the context of that, is a developmental program. You don't have a lot of true freshmen out there shining. And so they could buck that trend, of course. And in fact, the trends say they should be good again this year, and I think they will be good. I'm just not necessarily saying they're my preseason favorite to win the conference. That's all that would have to happen for them to take a step back. And they play Florida in week 1, and they go to Baylor in week 2. So if you want to accuse someone of not challenging themselves out of conference, look elsewhere. Don't look in Salt Lake City.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.